tight. Blessings I count down.
17, 18, 19. You shower your blessings on me. Blessings just keep on piling. That is the way you love me, love me.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am super excited to do another video for you guys, and as you can see by the title of my video, I'm going to be talking about how God blessed me with my car, and I'm super excited to share this because it really was a miracle. Even my whole driving process, it really was a testimony. So I just thought I had to share it. I have to share this with the world so that other people can be blessed, inspired, and filled with hope as well. So I don't want to take too long. Now, I did record this video yesterday, but number one, it was way too long, up to an hour, and I realized how much I can talk. Number two, I just want to do a nice condensed, shorter version, straight to the point for you guys. So if you want to get something to drink, get something to eat, I've got my iced water here. Drink, get something to eat, get comfortable. Like I said, I don't want to make this too long, guys. I say that all the time. I don't want to go on for too long, but I'll see how it goes anyway. Also, do bear with me. Like I said in my previous two videos, I'm not a professional YouTuber, so excuse all the lighting going on. And I've also got my device here, so if you see me looking down, just know that I'm keeping up with my notes as well. I just want to get straight to the point, guys. I don't want to waste any time, so I'm just gonna get straight into it. I waited a long time. Now, one of the things that God has had to work on me, work with me on, is the whole idea of waiting. I waited a long time. Okay, so I remember back in secondary school, not secondary school, in sixth form, when I was doing my A-levels, at that age, you're 16, 17, 18. So I don't know about other countries. I've done my research a little bit on the US, but in the UK, you are legally allowed to start driving and learning how to drive at the age of 17, right? So at 17, we were all in sixth form, and I remember everyone started driving. Well, a lot of people started their driving lessons. They were learning, they had passed their theory test. So for those who don't know, and I'm going to go into that a bit later on, but a theory test is basically an examination that you need to do before you're able to do your practical driving test on the road. So that test examines your knowledge on the road signs, situations on the road, safety hazards on the road, and you're supposed to pass that test before you do your driving test, right? So a lot of the people in my year group had passed their theory test and they were doing their driving lessons. And then a lot of them had also got their cars, whether it was as a gift from a family or they were able to save up and buy one. So I remember me and my friend in particular were like, yeah, we're going to start learning how to drive. We're going to start Anyways, it was difficult because, and please follow me because I feel like with everything I'm going to share, there is a story and there's a lesson behind it. What do you do when everyone else around you is getting blessed with the thing that you want, or everyone around you seems to be getting blessed and you're still waiting? Okay, so basically, yeah, in sixth form, everyone else seemed to be, driving, and it got to the point where a lot of them passed their driving test. So they were driving to sixth form in their vehicles, which was nice anyway. We didn't have any harsh feelings. We were actually, celebrating them. But inside you're like, okay, God, when is it going to be my turn? I want to be able to drive to sixth form as well. I don't want to rely upon a lift from someone else or get in the bus. I want to be independent and do things myself, right? Anyways, it comes to the age of 18. At this rate, a lot of us are going to university. Now, my plan was I'm going to go to uni and I'm going to revise for my theory test, and then I'm going to do my driving test afterwards. Now, that didn't happen. That did not happen. Basically, for those who know, if you've been to uni, you know, uni can get quite a lot. Like, I was involved in different things as well. My undergraduate degree at university, and I was also really heavily busy with the church and the Christian society that I was part of. So there was just a lot going on. Anyways, and also, I'm grateful that I didn't start my driving lessons at that stage anyway. Or should I say, I'm grateful that I didn't have a car in that season, only because where I was at for university in Nottingham, you can pretty much walk anywhere. Like, I could walk from my apartment to uni. I could walk from uni to church. Everything's like a connecting walking distance. Or you can get the bus. And if I was to get the bus, for example, from my apartment to church, it will be like 2 stops or 3 stops, 4 stops. So it wasn't that long anyway. So I did not need a car in that season of my life. Anyways, university finishes, and this is in 2020 when the pandemic started. Now, at that time, I was like, you know what, guys? I finished my undergraduate degree. Here I am back at home, back in Birmingham, because I went to Nottingham for my undergrad. And God, I just want to know how to drive now. Okay, I finished uni. I want to be that independent girl, independent young woman, knowing how to drive and just take myself around, right? So, come January, no, this was not January. It was March 2020 when COVID was considered as a global pandemic, right? And then a lot of things were shut down, even driving lessons. You could not do any driving lessons. So I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just revise my theory test. Okay, I'm going to revise my theory test so that I get it over and done with. Then in July of 2020, there was an instructor there's a driving school that my sister passed with. I ended up getting in contact with them, and my dad actually got in contact with them on my behalf, and I was able to start my driving lessons with this driving school, I think in around July 2020. So yes, COVID was still around, so we had to wear masks, and I wore gloves just to make sure we're all protected. Well, me and my instructor are both protected. But the point is, I started my driving lessons finally. Also, I forgot to mention another point. When I was in sixth form, seeing everyone else being able to start their driving lessons, and this goes back, like, there's actually a whole story that I'm going to share in another video as to why God didn't allow me to have certain things in that season of my life. So everyone else was able to have a part-time job. They were able to afford the driving lessons because it was quite pricey back then. They were able to afford it, but I wasn't working. I didn't have a part-time job on the side, so I couldn't have the funds to start my driving lessons as I would have wanted in that season anyway. So moving on forward, when it came to July 2020, my dad, as a gift and as a blessing, he said to me, you know what, I'm going to pay for your driving lessons. We're going to get you sorted. And that was such a big blessing to me. So I started my driving. I'm like, yeah, God, this is great. And I had it planned out in my mind. By the end of 2020, I would have passed my driving lessons, done my driving test, done my theory test, and got my car ready for 2021. So I had it planned out in my head that by 2020, that by December time, all of that will be done. Anyways, my instructor says to me, okay, before you do your driving test, you need to do your theory test, right? So I said, okay, and then I booked my theory test. I booked it for, I think the first one, I booked it for November of 2020, right? Now, it was I had to balance a lot because that same year in September of 2020, I started my postgraduate degree to become a qualified teacher. So it's called a PGCE, right? So I had uni assignments to do. I was, busy with my placement school that I had started. So a lot was going on, and I was also writing my book, or finishing off writing my book, one of my books I was going to release the following year. So I had a lot going on, right? Anyways, come to my theory test. I prayed. I was like, God, I'm going to do well. I'm going to pass it. So the pass mark overall, the theory test is 50 marks, right? And you need to get 43 marks, at least 43, to be able to pass the test. So I went to the test centre, and this was in Birmingham, where I am from. And I went there with confidence. Okay, I practiced, did the test, and guys, I failed the test. I failed by 3 marks. I failed by 3 marks. And I was so hurt. I was like, God, I revised, I prayed. Why did I have to fail this test? Anyways, and there's always a blessing even in the low seasons. And I say that because as I told you guys, I was writing my book. So even though I'm self-published, I was doing everything myself, writing, copywriting, editing. I did everything on my book by myself. The only thing I required help for was my book cover. So I got in contact with this amazing company from America, Exodus Design Studios, and they were able to create my front cover for me. So a few days before that, I got in contact with them. I paid the initial deposit, and the lady was able to work through my design. So that same day that I failed my theory test, I remember going back home. I think it was my dad drove me back home, or I got the bus, I can't remember. But I was so hurt, like I was so disappointed. Guys, you know when you've gone through disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, one after the other, it gets really discouraging. And of course that will make more sense when I go along with my testimony later on in the video. But basically, I remember going home after that test, opening my phone, opening my device, and I see an email, and this email was from the company who were making my book cover. And the lady made such amazing initial designs for me. I remember writing the email to her saying, thank you so much, I love these designs, you have made my day, because I was so saddened by the way I failed my theory test. And so she literally made my day. And I just want to encourage you, even when things go bad, you know, I believe God is merciful, God is faithful, God is he's loving, he is our Father, right? So he is Abba Father, and he can still bless you in other ways, even though you haven't received what you wanted in that moment. So I was blessed with amazing designs for my book cover. But anyways, fast forward, I told my instructor, and he said, never mind, next time you will do well. So he gave me this app, and it was an amazing app, and he said, invest in this app, it's only £5, buy the app, revise, and the next time you'll pass your test. So I said, that's fine, cool. I booked my test again, the same test centre in Birmingham. I went to the test centre all confident, and I was like, God, this time I am going to pass my test. And so normally what happens is when you do your theory test, you don't find out if you've passed or failed straight away. So you go to the reception area, and then the letter is printed off, and they basically give you the letter, and then they can kind of see if you've passed or failed, and then you know. Now that second time, guys, I failed again by 3 marks. 3 marks I failed. I said, God, why is this happening? Like, why does this cycle keep on going on and on? Anyways, I don't want to get this video being too long, but basically, guys, the third time I failed again, and this time it was by 6 marks. I was so annoyed. I think again the 4th time I failed again by 2 marks. So at this point I'm like, God, like why? And like I said to you earlier before, guys, if you're the type of person who's gone through discouragement after discouragement, things can get really hard, like emotionally to your heart, it can hurt, especially if you're not grounded and rooted in emotional stability. That is when these blows and hits can literally crumble you, right? And there's a Bible verse that says, I can't remember if it's in Psalms or Proverbs, it says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. So when you've hoped for something and it keeps being deferred, it keeps being delayed, or things are not working out, it can make your heart sick, right? But the latter part of that verse is beautiful, that I'll share later on. But anyways, my hope was deferred, and my heart, my emotions were made sick. Like it was really a tough time, guys, right? Especially and I forgot to mention this, so I was doing my postgraduate degree, I mentioned that, but I was also working at a particular school, and that involves me getting to work in the morning, coming home from work, by the bus as well, late as well. And all the time when I was by the bus stop, I would see other people driving past. I would see people who looked young like myself driving past, and I was like, God, when is it going to be my turn? And at that time it was COVID, and there was a lot going on with the bus system in COVID. Even till now, I've heard that bus drivers have been going on strike, buses have been delayed, and even during that season as well, guys, I experienced that as well. There were times where my bus would take 20 minutes and I'd get to work late. The bus would be caught in traffic, this, that, but I tried not to complain, and I really tried to have the right heart posture. I'd be in the bus and I'd be listening to music in the morning, and literally I'd look around and I'd say, you know what, God, I'm not the only one going through this. Yes, I'm annoyed that I keep having to take the bus and that this whole driving thing hasn't been sorted out for me, but I'm not the only one who is going through this. So that kind of helped me to be humble in that season. Anyways, that happened. And then I decided, you know what, this theory test situation, let me book at a different test centre. At this point, let me book at a different test centre. So I did that. I ended up booking at a completely different test centre, which is on another side of Birmingham. And I said, you know what, God, this 5th time, I must pass. I must pass. So I ended up going to this test centre, and the lady that was dealing with me checking my documents, she was so lovely, so kind. And I went in there, I said, God, like I said, I must pass this test. I must pass this test. But there was a calmness. For once, I wasn't shaken or worried. Like, I don't know, guys, and this is a whole word, so listen to me, and I pray that what I'm saying to you also ministers in your situation. In this new environment, right? New environment, I was much more at calm. I was much more at ease. I wasn't shaky or worried or concerned. I was really calm. So I did my test, going through each question one by one. Long story short, I went to the checkout, to the reception place, and the lady printed off the letter, and she said to me, congratulations, you have passed your test. I think I got about 46 out of 50 marks, and I was so over the moon. I said, God, finally I can move on to the next step, because, you know, like I said to you guys before, you can't do your driving test without passing your theory. And also, just to go back quickly, guys, it's really annoying because I failed my theory test before that 4 times, you know when you're going to fail, okay? So I told you that they print off the letter. I wish I had a piece of paper, but they print off the letter, and you know you have failed because what they do, they attach a booklet to, well, I think it is, I don't know if they do it if you pass as well. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but they attach a booklet to your letter, and the booklet basically talks about how to pass next time, driving tips. So every time I saw that booklet, I said, God, I know this is it. I failed my test. But basically, guys, I passed on the 5th time, and that just dropped in my spirit now. Number 5 means grace, okay? Number 5 means grace. So God did indeed grant me grace on the 5th time. So I can move on. I told my instructor I passed my theory test, and then he said, great, let's keep practicing your driving skills so that you can finally do your practical test on the road. And so bear in mind, guys, this is 2021. One skill that God has given me, I'm good with dates. I'm good with dates and memorizing years. So this was 2021. I passed my theory test, right? And also, as I was saying to you guys before about me going to a different location, that is a word of encouragement to you that sometimes God will require you, or you may need to go to a different location, a different environment to receive what God has for you. And I know that's, you know, completely, that can be applicable to different situations, but what happened to me in that situation reminded me, in general, in life, sometimes we need to go an extra mile, okay, because that test center was quite a distance from where I live. You need to go the extra mile. You need to go somewhere else. You need to do a new thing to get different results, right? So that's a bit of encouragement for you. Sometimes your blessing is in a different location, right? Anyways, I passed my theory test. time to do my driving. So I'm doing my driving lessons, I'm doing well, I'm improving by the day, and then I book my driving test. But the thing was, remember, this is 2021, so because of COVID and all these other variants, right, it was hard to get a test. I mean, at one point, there were only slots available for the next year, so for 2022. But thankfully to God, I was able to, in fact, my instructor hooked me up on this app where if someone cancels, it will automatically book you in, and that app helped me so much, even to the end. That app helped me, right? So my driving test, was booked, I believe, for March, but I ended up changing. So this is I think August 2021, that's when I booked my first driving test, and then I changed the date, right? The date kept changing, honestly, and things just kept being delayed because of the variants, COVID, all of that. So it was just a hot mess, right? Fast forward to 2022, I have a different test date, so I ended up booking a different test date, and this is a real fast forward, guys. So fast forward to 2022 of in fact, no, let me go backwards. I just want to say this quick thing. I remember as well, things were getting hard, guys. And even in the process, I was discouraged. And I say that because in 2021, I was finishing off my postgraduate degree and working at the school that I was working at for my placement. And I remember one day in particular, this is when it hit me. This is when I said, God, you need to do a miracle on me, because this is not it. So I remember I was finishing work. I think I finished at around 3:45 or 4 o'clock. And I literally stood at the bus stop and, seeing all the other staff members drive by. All the students had gone home at this point. One bus came, and bear in mind, so the school that I was working at is here. Town, city centre is that way, right? And where I'm going home is that way. So I'm going away from the city centre. So one bus comes, and because it's coming from town, it's packed. The driver, and I think it was me and like 5 other people, the driver drives past us because they couldn't let any more people on the bus because it was packed. Second bus comes and it goes past. These times it started to rain. Guys, it was raining. Thankfully, the bus had a shelter, so we were not drenched by the rain. So the bus had a shelter. The third bus comes, and it stops to let a few people off, and the driver goes past again. We were stranded there, guys. I kid you not. I think it was 4:45. We were there for probably about a good 15 minutes to an hour. And in my heart, I was like, God, here I am. I need to go home. I've got marking to do. I've got preparation to do for my lessons tomorrow. I've got my book that I need to proofread and copy, edit and stuff. It was just a lot, right? And then the 5th bus that came is the bus that allowed us to get on. The driver allowed us to get on. But imagine that, guys. We were waiting for like almost an hour. And so in my head, I was like, God, I wish I could start driving. And I was thinking, God, when I was at sixth form, back when I was 17, right? People my own age were driving. And now here I am at the age of, I think I was 21 or 20. No, yeah, I was 21. Here I am at the age of 21 and I'm still here. No, or 22, I can't remember. And I'm still here, working on my driving lessons, not being able to drive. So there was a lot of comparison and discouragement in the process, right? Please follow me. So again, fast forward even more. November of 2022, I finally had a booking for my driving test, right? And the date that was set was the 22nd of November. Now, because a lot of the test centres were packed and booked, I ended up getting a test centre to do my driving test in an area that I know the area, but I'm not fully familiar with it, right? So here I am doing my driving lessons with my instructor, practicing in the vicinity around where I live. But my driving test was in a different test centre. So I literally just had probably about 5 lessons with my instructor, practicing around this new area. Anyways, comes to the test date and it's the 22nd. And just a point of view as well, an interesting point. God had been highlighting that number as a key number for me. He'd been speaking to me through that number, 22, and I thought that number was going to be significant for me, and that it's going to be a powerful number for me, and that God was going to use that number in my life somehow. So I got that test on the 22nd of November. I went to the test, and it was at 12 p.m. Now that is a busy time, especially in that area that I was going to. So many cars, packed, busy, all of that. Got there, and let me just mention, guys, I do apologize if I'm going in and out. I'm trying to cover everything. I'm not even looking down at my notes as well. I'm literally just flowing and try not to waste time, because like I said, the video I recorded yesterday was up to 1 hour, and I don't want to make this video too long. But anyways, the day before my driving test, so this is on the 21st of November 2022, I came across a video on TikTok. Now this was really encouraging. This girl was talking about how she passed her driving test. God gave her favor with the instructor, even though her test wasn't perfect and she made a lot of mistakes. The driving examiner began talking to her about her faith, and they began talking about Christianity. And then overall, the driving examiner said to her, even though you made a number of mistakes or a couple of mistakes, I'm still going to allow you to pass your test. And I saw that video and I said, God, this is a sign for me. Tomorrow, even though I'm going to a test center that I'm not familiar with, I'm not familiar fully with that whole area, I'm going to pass this test. I pray, God, that you would give me favor with my driving examiner. So it comes the day, 22nd of November. I get to the test center, sort out my documents. My instructor, the one who teaches me my driving lessons, he stays at the test center, and then I go into the car with the examiner. Right, so she's absolutely amazing. She was a lovely woman, so shout out to her. She was lovely. So we get in the car, and then she asks me a few questions, just about the vehicle, these, the general test questions, right? For example, how do you clean the windows, the windscreen, these general questions. It was only 2 of them, and that's what happens in the process. So we go off, and she starts talking to me. Okay, what do you do? What's your job? All these great things. So she's making me feel really comfortable as I'm driving. So I drive, and then I come across this busy road. Guys, bear in mind, I told you 12 o'clock, noon is a busy time in this particular area. Then I hear an ambulance. Now there's loads of cars, and I could see from the rearview mirror like what's coming behind me, but I could hear the ambulance, but I couldn't see where the ambulance was. And then she told me, right, Rufaro, if you could just go to the left to make way for the ambulance that's coming. I didn't see the ambulance at all, but because she made that comment to me, I thought I failed. I said, God, I failed this, because generally, and again, you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, when you are doing your driving test, if I keep saying instructor, if the examiner has to butt in or tell you what to do, that's not a good sign, because you're meant to do this test independently. So when she told me that, I literally thought I failed. I said, God, I probably failed at this point. Anyways, I tried to keep a positive mindset. I tried to remain calm, and I continued with the lesson because I had a good about 35 minutes left or 40 minutes of it. Then we appeared at a roundabout. So for those who don't know, to those internationally who are watching my video, in the UK, our roundabouts can be quite difficult, okay? And when I did my research, I know that in America, a lot of the roads, or in a lot of states, you have 1-lane roundabout. So it's literally 1 lane and everyone just goes round. But in the UK, we're different. We are different to the point where you can have 2-lane roundabouts, you can have 3-lane roundabouts, 4-lane roundabouts. So it can get a bit confusing because you need to be in the correct lane so that you exit at the right exit. So, and we do have 1-lane roundabouts as well, but just to say, we have a number of lanes sometimes on our roundabouts. So I approached this roundabout, and bear in mind, it's a navigator speaking as well. So for the driving test in the UK, you now have a navigator that will speak as you are doing the driving. So the navigator speaking, and it's saying, take the 3rd exit at the roundabout. So I I'm in the second lane, so it's a 3-lane roundabout, right? 3 lanes to get to the roundabout. I'm in the second lane, and then I drive off to obviously go to the 3rd exit. But then I have to overtake someone. I cut someone off. Now, in my mind, I didn't register that was a mistake at first. And for your driving test, you're allowed to make a few minor mistakes. But if you make major mistakes, that is a straight fail. But I didn't register that was a mistake at the time. Anyways, in my head, I'm still thinking, you know what? I'm going to be positive. Let me just go through the rest of this test. I approach a road. And as I'm approaching the road, I stop because there's cars going past and I need to cross over. And then I start the car to move off, and then I stall. So for those who don't know, stalling a car is when you're basically about to, so you stop and then you're about to go, and then like the car just like it jerks or it just cuts off. So I stalled. And then in my head, I'm thinking, God, please, I just need to move on. So I turn on the car and I try to move it forward and I stall again. Long story short, I think I was there for a good 8 minutes, 7 minutes, trying to, sorry guys, I think I'm about to sneeze. Bless me. Bless me. Let me just drink some water real quick as well. Okay, sorry about that. So back to the story. I stalled and I was in that stationary position for a good about 8 minutes or 7 minutes. Guys, I don't know what happened. I couldn't start the car again. At that point, I was hot. I was tired. I was scared. I was so worried. I was shaking. I was like, oh my gosh. And I could see the cars at the back. I'd held them back. And that's one thing you're not allowed to do on your driving test. If you disrupt cars behind you, that can be a fail. And I held people back. I could see in the rearview mirror that the man behind me, he was getting annoyed, like, what's going on? And then I literally couldn't start my car. I could not start my car until the examiner, she said to me, right, Rufaro, you need to put your handbrake up. Okay, put your handbrake up, turn off the car, calm down, don't worry, just calm down, turn the car back on and drive off safely. Guys, at that point, I knew it was over. I said, God, just take me home. Just take me home. I failed this test because the woman literally had to tell me what to do, and that's not allowed. So I said, God, I might as well just go home. This is over and done with. So I drive off. She tells me to park somewhere. I'm able to park safely. I drive back to the test center. The test is over now. And then she handles a few more things on her iPad. And she says to me, unfortunately, Rufaro, on this occasion, as soon as she says unfortunately, I knew it, like it's done. She said to me, unfortunately, you have failed your test. I wish you all the best next time. She left the car and went back to this test center. And I remember just looking back and seeing her walk behind, and tears started to flow from my eyes. I said, God, like, I don't know, I just felt disappointed again. I said, God, I prayed, I believed, I made declarations, I've waited all these years, I've worked hard to get to this point, and it was just hard. I don't know, it was just something about it, turning around, seeing her walk away, and I'm having to sit here in the car and process what just happened, and just process this fail. And I don't know, I think the word fail as well was also a trigger. Yeah, it was also a trigger. So long story short, my instructor comes to see me. He could tell that I failed because of course I was upset. He asked me what happened, and I told him, because you are told why you failed as well, even on the email you get later on. So at the roundabout, that mistake I made, and when I stalled and held those cars back, that's why I failed. And so I was saddened by that. He ended up driving me back back to the bus stop, and I waited for the bus, and I was on the bus, and I did cry on the bus as well. Thankfully no one saw me. It wasn't a packed bus, but I was like, God, help me. Why has this happened again? Why have I failed something again? And even as I was on the bus, I was just seeing other cars go past. Even the car that I wanted, I saw other people driving it. And guys, it was just a lot. It was just a lot of emotions, a lot of things to process. I messaged my parents. I told them that I didn't make it on my driving test, and they were encouraging to me. They said, don't worry, next time we'll talk when we get home. That's what they said. But even when I got home, they were able to encourage me, etc. But I thought to myself, you know what, when I got home, I said, you know what, I cried. I got my emotions out. I told God, why is this happening to me again? Again, going back to that Bible verse, hope deferred makes the heart sick. At this point, it was a blow, because even when other things in my life haven't worked out the way I wanted to work out, it kind of brought back memories of other things in my life where I haven't done well, or where it didn't plan out the way I expected or wanted. So I tell my driving instructor, and he says to me, it's okay, you can plan this for another time, just book another test for another date. So that's exactly what I did. I ended up booking another test, and thankfully I was able to get the test center in my area where I live, where I'm used to. So I booked the test, and I'm able to get a test date for the 22nd of March 2023, so this year. So here I am. I booked this test. I said, God, there's no way I'm entering 2023 and me not being able to pass my test. I must pass my driving test. And going back a little bit as well, guys, I remember 2 years before that, I think I was at uni. There's a sister in Christ that I know of from Leeds. She's so lovely. She messaged me, and she was encouraging me just in general, as a sister in Christ would, as an older sister in Christ, a big sister in Christ to me. She was encouraging me. So again, this is a few years ago when I was at university. So I think probably in 2018 or 2019, she messaged me saying, hey sis, I just thought I'd encourage you. I finally passed my driving test. It took me about 5 times, but eventually I passed my test. And I just want to encourage you that don't give up, keep trying, and things will work out for you as well. So going forward, I always remembered her testimony at the back of my mind. I was like, I remember her testimony. God, if you can do it for her, you can do it for me. And that's why I was consistently discouraged when things weren't working out for me. Anyways, scrolling on to 2023, I'm preparing for my driving test, and so at this point my instructor is saying, I'm confident that you will do well on your test. So I want to go back. No, I'm not going to go back. Yeah, I'm on track. So on one of the days actually before my real driving test, and this gets into the testimony, guys, when I'm going to talk about how God blessed me with my car. So at this point, I'm preparing for my driving test. I'm having faith that God, I am officially going to pass my driving test. Now, just to double check, the date was the 4th of March 2023, I believe it was. Yes, it was the 4th of March. I woke up, did my normal routine in the morning, cooked breakfast for my family, had my quiet time, all of that. And then afterwards, I had a random desire to look for my car. And that was strange, because in my head, I premeditated upon the fact that after my drive, I said to God, after my driving test, I'm going to pass, and I'm going to go straight to the car shop to look for a car. But on that day, the 4th of March 2023, I randomly decided, let me go online, let me go on the internet and have a look at some cars. So I went on this website where it's a well-known car dealership where they sell used and brand new cars. It's called Arnold Clark. So if you're in the UK, you probably heard of it. And I began looking for a car, and I found 3 cars that I loved, and this was exactly what I wanted. I wanted a Fiat. Guys, if you're in the UK, you know a Fiat 500 is a typical girly girl car. I knew I wanted a Fiat, and the Fiat that I saw, all 3 of them that I saved on the wish list, they were in grey, and that's the colour that I wanted. But one of the cars in specific stood out to me in an amazing way. This car, it was the number plate registration. Now, of course, I'm not going to say it out loud here in public for wisdom purposes and security, right? But every single letter in that number, as soon as I saw the registration plate, God gave me a word for every single letter on that plate. Even the number on that number plate is significant to my life. Every single letter is, and as soon as I saw it, I said, God, this is my car. This is my car. And on the website, what you can do, you can make a reservation. So if you want to reserve the car, it's a small fee of £99. So straight away, I reserved the car. I went downstairs. I showed my parents. I said, Mom, Dad, I found the car that I want. I am adamant. I want this car. I showed them and they were like, go for it. My dad was like, go for it. My mom was like, okay, do what you got to do. We have faith. You can do it. Long story short, and this is the next day, I ended up going through the process with the man. He called me, and the car was in Manchester at the time. So the car was being sold from Manchester. And the man called me. We got through the paperwork. Before that, I literally prayed. I said, God, as this man is calling me, let the whole process be with ease. Let it be easy. I want to get this car easy. Let it be with ease, with no issue, no complication. The man called me. We went through the paperwork. We went through all the details, and he said, you've been approved. The car is yours. You can get the car today. And I said, I can't get the car because obviously I'm not in Manchester. And he said, okay, we can send the car to you by, I think they use vans or special vehicles, and it will be sent to the Arnold Clark near your area. And I said, thank you, God. And they said, you can get your car next week. And so that was a blessing to me. And, you know, moving on, the week afterwards, I went to collect my car. No, it wasn't the exact week afterwards, actually. I ended up getting my car on, it was 2 weeks afterwards. So I ended up getting my car on the 13th of March 2023. So I got my car, went to get it with my mom and dad. I was so excited, guys. I said, God, I saw everyone else getting blessed when they were 17, when I was 17, my own age mates getting blessed at 17. And now here I am at 24, and it finally happens to me. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 7 years later. And again, this is just dropped in my spirit. 7 means completion, and 7 is also a divine number in the Word of God. Not talking about New Age numerology. Biblically, the number 7 means completion or perfection in terms of the things of God, right? So I finally got my car, and then in my head I was thinking, you know what? Next week is my test. My test is on the 22nd of March, which is a Wednesday. God, I must pass this test. I was praying, I was believing, I was making declarations. Even before that, I had gone into my car privately. I prayed over my car. I blessed my car. I anointed my car. Even my parents prayed over my car. My granddad, bless him, he ended up calling in later on from abroad, and he called on the phone. He blessed and prayed for my car, and I was in faith. Anyways, going to the next week, and this is the week of my official driving test, right? So this is Monday. I go to work, I come home from work, and I ended up having a driving lesson with my instructor, and this is at around 5 o'clock. It's raining, I'm tired, the roads are busy because everyone's coming home from work. And as I was having my test, guys, it wasn't, lesson, it wasn't a good lesson. Literally, I was stalling, I was just all over the place. Like, it wasn't a good lesson. And my driving instructor looked at me and said, even though today wasn't as good, you know, still do your best for Wednesday. He told me Wednesday is going to be a busy time, and that's my test date. My test time was at 8 a.m. in the morning, and he was telling me, he was a lovely, listen, shout out to Ramen driving instructors. Guys, if you are in Birmingham and you need a driving instructor, Ramen driving test people. That's the company, they're called Ramen. They are amazing. I will link them down in the description box below. They are an amazing driving school. And so the man that was my instructor, he helped me so much, but he was saying to me, he's not, we don't belong to the same faith. And this is key, because I ended up praying something against what he said. He said to me, Wednesday, 8 o'clock, that's your test time. It's going to be extremely busy. People going to work, people going to school, pedestrians. It is the busiest time for you. So you have, there's a bit of extra pressure. You need to make sure you're focused. But in my mind, in my heart, I will say no. I will say no. God is going to get me through my driving test with ease. Anyways, fast forward to the test day, right? The 22nd of March, and I ended up having a quick lesson with my instructor at 7:15 in the morning, about 45 minutes before my official test time. So I have my lesson, the roads are clear, and I'm like, God, please get me through this. And before that, leading up to the test date, I was specifically praying, God, I pray that you would give me favor with my driving examiner. I pray that you'll get me through with ease, that there will be no issue, no complication on the road, that you will remove all pedestrians, all people, let there be no craziness on the road. I will get through my driving test with ease. So 8 o'clock comes, I hand in my document, my driving license, I get it all sorted, the whole ID process, and then I am given the driving examiner comes to me, and we walk to the car and we begin the test. First of all, I said to myself, God, thank you. The examiner was so lovely. He was so nice. He wasn't rude. He was so nice. I can't remember his name, which is unfortunate, but he was an amazing examiner. And so I began to drive off. I was just calm. And bear in mind, the last time I did my driving test in November in 2022, even though I was calm to start off with, all those mistakes put me off guard. Like, I began to get scared and I just wasn't calm. But this time when I had my test, I was calm. I was at peace. I was driving, and the same prayers that I prayed, God, make the roads clear. Yes, they were. The roads were clear. And this is literally a miracle, because again, normally at that time, it makes logical sense to believe and think that there's going to be a lot of people walking, because people are going to school, children, and we went past a lot of schools, primary school, secondary school. Guys, I didn't see a group of people in the way. No one cut me off as I was driving. The way was literally made clear for me, similar to the way God made a way for the Israelites and Moses as they were walking through to get away from Egypt, to get away from Pharaoh. God parted the Red Sea. He made it easy for them to get through. And I really believe that was my testimony. God made it easy for me. Anyways, I did make 2 small mistakes. I stalled twice, but it wasn't at dangerous points, and I was able to restart my car and drive off safely. And then I finally got to the test center. The examiner was next to me and he had his iPad. He was doing what he was doing, and then he looks at me and said, congratulations, Rufaro, you have passed your driving test. And I was so happy. Like, I'm good at containing my emotions, and even in that moment I was just really happy inside. But guys, I was so happy. I had finally passed my driving test. I said, God, you have done it for me, and I'm grateful and I'm thankful. And then my instructor comes and sees me. He's happy for me. He takes a picture of me holding my certificate, and he drives me back home. And I'm so forever appreciated, because I was with him, this instructor, since 2020. So it had been 3 years, all those obstacles, all those trials, failing, things not going well, COVID, and he stuck by me. So I'm ever appreciative to God for him. But as soon as I got home, guys, I got to my car, I took off those L plates of my car. I went in my car and I began to thank God. And just praise God and just be so grateful that, oh my goodness, I finally passed my driving test. And I was like, God, let this car be used for your glory. Let this car be used for me to go to places to advance your kingdom, whether that be conference or evangelism, whatever this be. God, I have literally submitted my car unto you. I was so excited, guys. I was so excited. I was like, you know what? I finally thought, wow. Like, guys, and even now that I'm a driver and I drive places myself, it makes it so much easier, because before that, from November last year, 2022, until I passed my theory test, I stopped getting the bus because the buses were really unreliable, and I was getting the Uber. So imagine, guys, I was getting the Uber in the morning, right? I was getting the Uber after work. That was adding up financially. Like, I spent a lot of money on Uber, but now just to think that I remember the next day, and I told my family I was so excited, and I'm grateful for people that congratulated me, because I put it up on my WhatsApp story. And then the next day I remember driving to work and I said, God, is this me? Is this me? And I was just constantly in awe and thankful to God, because I was like, God, again, going back since the age of 17, other people my age had passed. They passed at 18, they passed at 17, and I finally passed at 24, 7 years later. God, I don't know why you made me wait for this length of time, but I'm grateful that I went through this. I'm grateful that I finally passed my test. And guys, I was just so appreciative. Like, I got my keys here. I know they're jingling about, but I finally got my keys, and it was such an exciting time. Guys, even till this day, I remember a few days ago, I was driving, I said, God, I'm genuinely grateful. And of course, guys, when you get a car, you get gassed, you get excited, you're all hyped up about a car. It's so exciting, but genuinely, it makes life so much easier. And every blessing that we get from God, we need to say, God, even though you blessed me with this, allow me to use this for your glory. Let this not just be for me, just driving for the sake of it, or looking cute, or wanting to, be excited and hyped up, but let this car be used for your glory. Let this blessing be used for your glory. And I want to testify, guys, because I can finally get to work without any issues. I can finally go to where I need to get to where I need to get to without issues. Just being able to drive there, and literally my car has been a sanctuary. So every time I drive, like, I listen to only gospel. So whether that's Christian worship, Christian rap, different genres of Christian music, and I'll literally be in my car listening to whatever Christian song I listen to, and I'm literally grateful and thankful to God. And I'm glad it didn't happen to me in the past seasons, because I'm so appreciative and thankful. Not that I wouldn't have been appreciative and thankful in the past seasons, but I even think about my car, because the way I got my car, guys, was so supernatural. As you heard, I got it in ease, with no issue at all. And I think if I had passed my driving test in November when I first had it, I don't think I would have got that car. Maybe the owner was still using it. Maybe, I wouldn't have been able to get it for any other reason in that season, but God saw it fit for me to receive double blessing. Okay, and I pray that that's a word for us, because the other day, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I saw a rainbow out of nowhere in the sky. And a few days ago, I might attach a picture right here. I saw I saw a double rainbow outside of our home, and it's crazy because I was doing my work in my room. All of a sudden, this outpour of rain comes out from nowhere, and it lasts a few minutes, because in my head I'm like, okay, let me rush downstairs so I can take a video of this rain. It's so much, like, I just want to take a video. But as soon as I got downstairs, which was less than a minute, the rain had stopped, and there were 2 rainbows there. And of course, when we go back biblically, and this is one thing I teach my students, the rainbow isn't symbolized by what it's symbolized by today, by other individuals in their communities and their groups, but the rainbow symbolizes the promise that God will never flood the whole earth again. That is the Noahic covenant that God gave to Noah when he said that he wasn't going to flood the whole world ever again. So the rainbow symbolizes a promise, and I'm just grateful to God that he's reminding me in this season that he is a promise keeper. God, even though certain things, certain blessings may not happen in the time that you want or in the time that you expect, eventually it will happen. And I pray that not just for me, that even for you as you're watching, whatever you're believing God for, that he will fulfill it exceedingly and abundantly. Meditate and reflect upon Amos 9, specifically a passage from the Message version. I'll try and attach a picture right here, but Amos 9 was the scripture that came to me as soon as I saw that rainbow. And I'm the type of person, I don't just want to be blessed by myself. I want those around me to be blessed. And I pray that even as God has blessed me in these years of waiting, and there's still some things right now that I'm praying and believing God for, and I'm still waiting. I'm seeing everyone else being blessed with the very thing that I'm still waiting on. But I believe that God is faithful to fulfill all of his promises. He will not allow his children to be begging for bread or to be left stranded. Know that God is a promise keeper. He will bless you, right? And also just reminded as well, try to guard your heart by all means. The Bible tells us to guard our heart diligently. Try your hardest to guard your heart from comparison, envy, jealousy, or bitterness. No, God doesn't want us to have that heart. Even though other people are being blessed with other things that we may want, God wants us to have the right posture. You know, there was a famous quote that I heard someone say last time: if everyone else is getting blessed around you, just know that God is in the neighborhood and you are next. You are next. And so, guys, I just wanted to share my testimony. I can talk. This video is super long already. Let me just quickly look at my notes to see if I've missed anything. Yeah, I got through all my notes. I am so grateful. Thank you, God, for getting me through this video. But guys, genuinely, I just thought I couldn't keep silent about my testimony. I couldn't keep silent as someone who has waited for so long for this blessing that is now being used for the glory of God. As I said, I want to use my car for the glory of God. Traveling to places for the glory of God. I just had to testify. This was literally a miracle. Double blessings from nowhere. I got my car and I passed my test at the same time. And I remember telling my instructor, in fact, my instructor knew that I got a car. And when I passed, afterwards, I messaged him in the evening, just expressing my gratitude and my thanksgiving towards him and his patience to me. And he said to me that there's another girl that he's now teaching. And he told the girl, they drove past our house and he told her that's the car that she bought. And she said to him, she got a car already. She got a car. Guys, listen, that is the blessing of the Lord. I got my car and passed my test straight away. So I pray that as God did it for me, I pray that he will do it for those of you who are waiting. It could be driving, it could be any other blessing, but I genuinely pray that as you desire his heart, he will grant you the desires of your heart. As you desire his heart, that he will grant you the desires of your heart. And guys, thank you so much for tuning into my video. I pray that this blessed you. I know it's been a long video, another long video, but guys, I need to learn how to condense. I'm just a very detailed storyteller, and I can talk and I can talk and I can talk. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you guys have a prayer request or anything that you want to comment, please put it down in my comments. Please subscribe, please like the video, please share this with your loved ones and friends. And if there's any other videos that you want me to share as well, put it down in the comments and I'll record another video. Thank you so much, guys. I really hope this video blessed you, and I'll see you in my next video. God bless you.
17, 18, 19, you shower your blessings on me. Blessings just keep on piling. That is the way you love me, love me. 18, 19, showers of blessings pouring. That is the way you love me. That is the way you love me, Daddy.